Hey folks, Fernando doing another video for Modern Survivalists. Stick around for this video. It's gonna be about dealing with power outages. May that be summer, winter. This is one of those things, one of those basic things you try to cover in terms of survival and preparedness. Stick around for this one because no doubt I'm gonna be throwing a couple ideas there, a couple suggestions that most likely you haven't thought of, at least not in that way, so it's worth your while. So let's get started. This is based on a previous video I did a few years ago, and that video itself was based on like 7 days I went without power because there was a problem with the company and something that went beyond my control. But at the end of the day, I was left without power for like 7 days, and man, that is not nice. That gets boring very fast. Boring is one of the key parts actually. If you haven't been without power for that long, you don't know how depressing it can get. I mean, before that I've been without power for maybe a day, 2, maybe 3 days tops. I don't remember actually being without power for longer than that. But when you're without power, without electricity for longer periods of time than that, and you're used to it, you kind of get depressed. It's kind of sad not to be using all the things you're so familiar with and take for granted at times. Okay, so having said all that, I'm going to be leaving the links below for some of the stuff, whatever I find with good reviews in Amazon. If you're interested, link's going to be there, and it is from the affiliate program, so it does help out the channel. Number one, obviously, having flashlight. That goes without saying. You want to have flashlights during a blackout, power outages. You probably have something like your typical EDC flashlight, something like this, a smaller flashlight. These are great, and you should have these. That's fantastic. But also have some of the bigger, more powerful ones. These are Through Night, and full disclosure, Through Night sends me these for reviewing. I haven't bought any of these, but it's also true I've never had any of these fail, and given that I don't even pay for them, I treat them pretty much with very little care, and in spite of that, in spite of abusing them quite a bit, I've never had a single one fail. So I guess that says quite a bit about that. I baby the ones I pay myself a lot more, some of the Surefires, Petzl, that sort of thing. These ones I beat around, and I've never had one of these had problems. But a bigger flashlight, this is something you want to have as well, having that greater throw, more lumen. Besides having this, you want to have a headlamp. Now, if you don't have a headlamp already, you're really missing out, because one of the things that you see is that when the power outages maybe last for a few hours, maybe a day, you kind of go about your day with other stuff, but you leave a lot of things undone until power returns. But when power is not returning, you have to go on with your life. You have to keep on cooking, repairing stuff, cleaning your guns, working on things around the house, maybe trying to solve whatever problem you have. Maybe it's a storm-related power outage and you have to do some cleaning around the property or whatever it is. This is going to be saving your life, because you're going to be using both hands instead of having one hand using a flashlight, your typical tiny flashlight or bigger, doesn't matter, but one hand is using the flashlight, the other one is actually useful. With a headlamp, you have both hands available and you direct light exactly where you need it just looking at it. That is a huge advantage, and if you don't have a headlamp, you just don't have that. So consider getting one of these. This is a Through Night, pretty good. This is a Petzl. Petzl makes some fantastic stuff. It is very compact, uses AAA batteries. That's a great way to go. Then you want to have like reflectors or something that illuminates like an area, and that's all good. You have different types. I have a couple. One of the little tips I'd like to share with you is buy some of these kind of like Christmas tree sort of lights. These days people use this like for putting in a glass bowl, in a table, in a coffee table. When you have like these string lights, you can direct them a lot better. So this one is from IKEA. It's using a couple AA batteries, but let's say you have like a kitchen counter or something like that. You can put this on top with a little bit of tape, and you can actually put lights illuminating a room, an area, but mostly in the parts that you're interested in. And these cost nothing, super affordable. You can buy a couple of these and have them placed when there's a more extended power outage. Okay, that's a very good suggestion. Number 2, batteries. Of course, you want to have flashlights. You want to have batteries as well. I try to standardize. I buy IKEA rechargeable and primary ones. They're okay. The rechargeable ones from IKEA are made in Japan, and I believe they're the same type as the Eneloops. I remember reading somewhere, and there it says. Let me see if I get this to focus. Okay, it doesn't want to focus, but it's made in Japan. There it is, and yeah, these are quite good. These are rechargeable, very good, rechargeable AA's and AAA's, and I have quite a bit of those, and these are ones as well. I try to standardize in that, but I also have a CR123As, and I have 18650s for the larger ones. So yes, you want to standardize, but sometimes you have a variety. I buy mostly in more bulk in AA, AAA. I try to standardize around that. Also for button cell light batteries, the 2032s is what I use for my red dots, and I think my watch, the Sunto Core, also uses the same battery, which is pretty practical. Let's move on. Number 3, a gas cooker, one of these, the typical camping thing that you use for cooking food while out in the camping or out in the country, whatever. These things are super practical. I use that during this outage, and one of the practical things is you put it in basically the same spot where you're used to cooking. My wife pointed out that it was handy, and it wasn't changing our routine as much because you could keep on cooking in the same spot with that gadget. These are cheap. I'll leave the link for whatever model I find with good reviews, but you want to have several of the bottles of gas. You may have some of these that can also be used for heaters. That's also a good idea, but mostly for preparing food. You want to get one of these things, which are, they're a godsend when there's an outage and you have everything electrical in your kitchen. Number 4, an inverter. So an inverter is basically the part missing to convert your car into a generator. You can go with buy a generator if that's what you need because of the needs you have specifically in your own specific circumstances. But let me advise you, try getting an inverter if you can, because this is going to be converting your car, which is also already a fantastic engine that's using gasoline or diesel, whatever it uses, but it's a much more efficient, reliable engine than any generator you can come across. Okay, so if you need a generator, by all means go with that. I find very convenient to have the inverter for my car. I ran that every day for laptops, getting Wi-Fi, and getting some work done during the time I was without power, and that was very practical, very handy to just throw a cable and just turn on the car, letting it run for a while. It's super efficient. It's a diesel engine, 2.2 liters, so it's not going to be killing my my supply of fuel, but it allows you to run your car. Yeah, this is a 500 one. I'll see if I find something like 1,000 watt. I need to buy one of those myself, and I'll leave links for a couple good generators that I come across. But don't forget, that is super practical, and they're also very affordable, and it's less messy than having to deal with a separate engine. Getting a separate engine in a generator, it's more of a hassle. Number 5, a battery bank. This is one of those things where technology has improved quite a bit. That little battery pack, that is quite heavy. It's like 27,000 milliamperes of power. It allows me to charge my phone all week long. So you can go with something bigger. You have these so-called electric generators, which are not generators at all. They're just a big battery. But something like that, it's affordable, not all that expensive. It also has a solar panel, so it allows you to somewhat charge it. But most of all, what I'm looking here is a good battery pack, so as to charge my phone and my family's phone maybe throughout the week, while at the same time I try to charge the device as well. And that also quickly takes me to number 6, a good solar panel. You could have something like that. That's a foldable one. It folds volts. That's 28 watt, which is good. It allows me to charge a couple phones like as if I was plugging them in the wall. Really, it's very efficient. You can go with something bigger for sure, but something like that, at least for me, has been okay enough. And with that and that pack, I basically have, you know, unlimited amounts of electricity for my devices, especially the smaller ones. Am I going to be running a fridge on that? No. If I need to run a fridge, I'll probably use the inverter and use the car maybe for a few hours a day, so as to keep the freezer, you know, everything frozen solid. But for the smaller things, the tablets, the phones, that's it. You can get a bigger one, of course. You can get a big 100 watt panel, but that is affordable. It's compact, it's light. If you have to carry it around, it's a very, very good idea. If you haven't got one of those already, I definitely suggest you do. Number 7, gonna be talking here about the beloved kerosene heater. That's my collector's model kerosene moonlighter, which is very hard to get these days. I have some of the radiant heaters. Those are also very good, but basically a kerosene heater. If you don't have one of these already and you live in a cold climate place, do some research. You just want to have one of these. That model specifically allows you to cook on top of it. It works like a lantern with 300 lumen output. So it's a very practical little gadget that uses super simple technology and fuel that stores terribly well, which is kerosene. So especially in cold climate locations, you do want to get one of these. It's a no-brainer. You just have to have it. You can have some of the older models that you can restore, or you can make it just super simple and buy something not exactly like that, but somewhat similar from Amazon, and just keep one just in case. Moving on, number 8. And that's where we're talking about firearms. Now, when there's a power outage, of course, there's looters out there at times. The longer it lasts, the more likely it is that being a problem. So it goes without saying you want to have a gun. My advice, though, would be get something like, this is not a bad idea at all. Beloved shotgun for home defense, a classic, but specifically for something like a power outage, you have a couple advantages. You have, of course, great stopping power, but when you're firing buckshot is going to be, it's not that you don't have to aim, but it starts spreading a little bit, and the further away you are, the more it spreads, and the more likely you are to actually hit the target. What would be a close miss with a rifle or a handgun may in fact be a solid hit with buckshot. So keep that in mind. A shotgun, especially for blackouts, for power outages, definitely something that you may want to look into. This one, I have it fitted with a red dot, a super simple one. You can buy something more expensive. I'll leave links for the what's with the Sunway. Oh man, what's the name? There's a cheaper red dot type that's pretty efficient and has pretty good reviews. Don't remember the name exactly right now, but you have some in-between points between this and an aim point, and they're still solid enough, and for a few bucks you get a solid, reliable red dot for your gun. Red dot is going to be easier to aim at night when there's a low light situation. Combined with a shotgun, I think it's a winning combination to have for home defense. Okay, guys. So basically, that's it. Then you have these devices that they're very popular, but they're not all that great. You're not going to be charging a whole lot with this. You get a little bit of light, just a little bit of that. Mostly the idea of having a radio. That is something that you definitely do want to have, a radio, so as to know what's going on during the power outage. My advice would be, instead of getting something like this, get a shortwave so as to know what's happening, at a worldwide level even. Yeah, so, and that one is also rechargeable. You can connect it with a solar panel. It has a micro USB port, and you can recharge it as well. And yeah, if you're interested in this sort of thing, guys, remember I discussed quite a bit of power outages and these kind of problems in my book, Street Survival Skills, and my first book, The Modern Survival Manual. Links for these are going to be available following the links below. Have an awesome day. See you on our next video. Take care.